So Arcade One Up is at it again, this time unveiling 4 new machines in just a short span of time. These are not even available for pre-order, but I wanted to get the word out there early. In case you're interested, I will show you how to be notified when they go live. You can pick them up yourselves. I'm gonna guess based on the prices of everything else that Arcade One Up launches, these are probably gonna cost about 400 bucks. I guess we'll find out when they come out. This up first is the Ms. Pac-Man arcade cabinet, and what I like about this is there's really unfortunately not a lot of details. It's just a picture. So if you don't like me talking, too bad, because I'm going to be doing a lot of it and we're going to be looking at a lot of pictures. I don't have a lot of technical specifications, but I'm going to guess this is the same kind of specifications as all the other arcade one-ups we've seen. With the only variant I see here is that you'll notice the actual play area does not extend on either side of the cabinet. That is something that I noticed they've been doing in some of the newer machines, but for whatever reason, this one actually didn't make the cut. But it's not going to just include Ms. Pac-Man. It's got a couple other games you could see listed there. And what I really like about this one, I think, out of some of the other ones we've seen, is to me, this is more iconic. Some of the games they choose to release as arcade cabinets kind of make me scratch my head. I get it, the nostalgia of being on a machine and standing upright, with a nice heavy duty joystick with the button you slam down. It's fun. I get it. There's definitely a market for that, but a lot of these machines are just not that great. I would argue that Miss Pac-Man is definitely one of the more timeless games, especially since it includes Pac-Man Plus and Pac-Mania and sorry, Galaxia, Galaxian, Galaxian. I don't know why I'm such a saying that. But I like it. It's only one person playing this particular one, and I think that is a good thing because it's too tiny for 2 people. That said, let's go ahead and jump over here. Let's look at the X-Men vs. Street Fighter arcade cabinet. Now, this one you can tell the same, pretty much, I'm going to guess the same dimensions here if we do this shot here versus here. Um, they squeezed in a second player here. I'm not entirely sure I like that idea. This is small. I really think this need that extra play surface on each side. This is going to be tight for 2 adults. But I always did like these X-Men games a lot. The fact that they're throwing in, kind of the standard X-Men beat 'em ups, and then you're going to get the versus Capcom and then the versus Street Fighter. I think that's pretty cool. I like the artwork on the side, although it does look a cartoony, maybe. Um, I guess that kind of matches the style of the game, but I don't know. I kind of jump back to this Pac-Man thing, and this artwork looks much more authentic to the time. Even the bottom, the footer here, which rises the cabinet up, which is pretty much standard now on all the arcade one-up machines, which is good because these things are way too short otherwise. Even the artwork on the bottom, I think, looks pretty good. But you jump over here, and this artwork on the bottom doesn't seem to look as clean. I'm sorry, the top doesn't seem to look as clean as the bottom here. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just a weird angle I'm looking at. But I mean, this is definitely the graphics of the game. I remember that. I remember playing that, in the arcade. But this just doesn't look that great. Now, the deck on the top looks really nice. They did a really good job here with, the distinct buttons and kind of the little cheat sheet on the stick. I do remember that when I used to go to the arcade and play. So that's cool. And I like that, I don't know, it's got a nice, the way that they kind of framed the game with this faux looking steel plating looks kind of cool too. But I think it's just going to be, I don't think it's actually like any material other than just the cheap press board that they put on everything else. But it does frame the image a little bit more. I feel like kind of going back to the Pac-Man game. Yes, they did put a nice paint job around it, but I feel like there's something that just really pops about this, and I do like it. But if you're kind of getting tired of the what arcade game are they going to release next, well, they are now starting to venture into other products altogether. This first one is Marvel Pinball. Now, I would have to guess that, and I hope that this is a little bit cheaper than some of those other games, only because it is so tiny. This is such a dwarf of a pinball table. Yes, it does include, speakers, which most pinball games have a lot of speakers in the front as you're doing things, and it's got a little tiny screen here, probably to fill up with point bonuses and how many points you have to get for your next ball, and they have that little guessing game at the end where you can potentially get an extra play. But we don't really get to see much. As a matter of fact, it looks like they haven't even finished. If I try to zoom in, this flat piece here, this obviously cannot be the finished part. There's nothing here. It's just a flat surface. So I don't know if they're putting a nice sheet of glass over this. I assume it's not going to be open face, but my point is glass versus plastic. Because this thing is just so short, there's really not going to be a lot of room for a lot of like cool travel of the ball up at the top. You think when you play those arcade games and you get the ball, I don't really have a square on shot, do I? Here, I guess you could see a little bit of it. You think of the ball coming down, right? And it comes down the side, and you hit the paddle way in the corner, and it bounces up here. You don't really see any of that. I see a couple wire guides where it looks like maybe it's doing some kind of swirl to spit out in a couple places. But even the paddles just look so incredibly tiny. They look like maybe a quarter inch of, or a quarter of the actual normal arcade pinball paddle. I assume the ball is probably going to be smaller to kind of give it a little bit more real estate. I'm not a big fan of this one. I mean, you definitely know real arcade machines, particularly refurbished ones from Bally or from other sites, do run for a pretty good amount of money. A nice refurbished one is easily going to run you over $1,000. So understanding that Arcade One Up is going to be a cheaper, more home friendly type variant. That obviously, they put a couch here for scale to kind of show you how small this thing really is. This would be good if you just want to do like kind of a quick little pinball game, but I feel like the novelty of something like an arcade game like Pac-Man or the X-Men versus Street Fighter Arcade would last a little longer than this. I feel like you're going to get your fill on this incredibly quickly. But if you're not a fan of that, they are actually getting even deeper now into some other games. We now have Big Buck Hunter Arcade, which includes a slew of these shooting games. You can see here that it comes with the two gun accessories. I have always been a huge fan of Time Crisis, and I remember getting the PlayStation 3 peripheral to actually have a little paddle that you could step on with your foot and a gun, and I loved it. This definitely, I think, resonates with a lot of people. I think just about everybody and their mothers probably played Big Buck Hunter at some point in their life. It's got a two-player. Now, this probably would work a little bit better for two players because you don't have to stand square onto the screen. I hope. I don't know. I assume their technology is probably a little bit more advanced that you can kind of stand off to each side. The fact that it does come with a rope is nice, which does indicate that you can kind of move. Obviously, it's where the electronics are. I understand it's not for theft or anything. But my point is, it's probably got a pretty wide area of, actually being able to be operated. So you could definitely play this with somebody else, I don't think, with much of a problem. The only thing I worry about here, and we don't actually get to see any photos of the actual guns completely pulled out of the cabinet, is I know that these cabinets are shorter in size, and I wonder if these are more kind of like a sawed-off shotgun variant as opposed to a traditional shotgun. I mean, they do look, pictures are deceiving. I don't know, maybe this kind of comes down at an angle more, kind of diagonal instead of just square into the back of the machine. But that would be my biggest concern. It seems like they've done a good job of replicating paddles and buttons on these things. It's just now we're starting to get into peripherals. And if they're trying to keep this arcade machine around the same price point as some of the other stuff, they're going to have to make concessions somewhere. Now, obviously, it's not going to have all of the switches and buttons and stuff that you would have gotten on like Pac-Man, or the dual set of controls that you get on X-Men for Street Fighter Arcade, or even really much of that big flat surface that we see here or featured in other games that does stick out on either side. But the fact that you're missing all that and you're replacing it with a piece of plastic and there's going to be sensors to make sure it picks it up, I don't know. I just hope they've done this well. I guess we'll find out. But if you're interested, I'm going to post a link to each of these 4 cabinets in the description below. All you got to do is click on that blue button right there that says notify me. And when they go live, they will send you an email and you can get one if you want one. So hope you guys enjoyed this look at some of the new crazy stuff from Arcade 1-Up. I am continually impressed by the stuff that they release, and I hope that the trend of good, solid replica arcade equipment continues. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.